Hi, my name is Yoshitaka Yamazaki from Japan. I'm working for Bunkyo University at the Department of Business Administration. Today, I will present a cross-cultural management research entitled Cross-Cultural Competencies and Foreign Language Self-Efficacy, Study on International Graduate Students. Here is the content of this presentation. I will first discuss why this study is important at the introduction, followed by purposes of this study and research questions. Then, I will explain about methods in terms of research site, sampling procedures, and scales used for this study. I will present the result of this study, and finally, I will discuss implications, future studies, and limitations. Now, I will move to the introduction. I will talk about cross-cultural competencies regarding their background slightly. Over a few decades, many cross-cultural competencies for effective performance and adjustment of expatriates, global assignees, and international students to cross-culturally different workplaces have been discussed. So it's important to understand cross-cultural competencies for international and cross-cultural study areas, particularly what increases develop or affect the level of cross-cultural competencies. So if we knew about such antecedents or factors, we would be able to improve these competencies more effectively. This slide shows you the antecedents of cross-cultural competencies. Past studies found several factors and antecedents of cross-cultural competencies. For example, international experiences, personality traits like a Big Five model, and tolerance of ambiguity. Also, the past research identified the importance of foreign languages, especially foreign language diversity that increased the level of cross-cultural competencies. It suggests that we would see the strong belief of one's own foreign language capabilities may develop and lead to cross-cultural competencies. However, we don't know much about the linkage between foreign language self-efficacy and cross-cultural competencies, and here are what we are facing as a gap. Accordingly, the purpose of this study is to understand the relationships between foreign language self-efficacy and cross-cultural competencies. This slide shows you the research question that I'd like to seek for answers. Research questions are: how does foreign language self-efficacy affect cross-cultural competencies? When you look at this figure, foreign language self-efficacy is an independent variable, and cross-cultural competencies are dependent variable. In terms of cross-cultural competencies, I will focus on three types of cross-cultural skills, which I will present later. This slide is related to methodologies, which include research site, samples, sampling procedures, and scales. I will explain about them. First, I will discuss the research sites. I chose a graduate school located in Japan where I worked for previously. In this graduate school, Japanese students are not major student body, occupying less than 10%. Other students are coming from various different countries around the world. And at this school, English is official language within its campus, and it's used in all classes. So, when students apply for this graduate school, they'll be required to submit TOEFL or IELTS scores. A number of samples are 183 graduate students from 51 countries. As you see this table, There are two graduate schools and programs, international management and international relations. And among this sample, male students are slightly larger than female students. The average age of the sample was around 31 years old. This slide shows you the sampling procedures. The author went to this graduate school and asked the manager of this graduate school to cooperate on this study, and she accepted. Then, online survey form with a consent document was distributed to our graduate students. So when they agree with this cooperation and participation of this study, they answered the questionnaire. This study was approved by the Research Ethics Committee at the author's university. I would like to explain about one of the skills I used, foreign language self-efficacy, which is an independent variable of this study. I applied the cultural self-efficacy in learning and understanding other language from the cultural self-efficacy scale for adolescents. There are 3 items with 6-pointed Likert scale. 1 is strongly disagree and 6 is strongly agreed. Therefore, the higher scores are the greater foreign language self-efficacy. One of the examples is this. Approaching a different culture, I can speak a language different from mine. Cronbach alpha of this scale I used is 0.79 on this sample. The other scale is about cross-culture competencies. These competencies are dependent variable of our study. I used the cross-cultural competencies scale. This scale model has 3 cross-cultural competencies or skills. First one is building relationships, have 3 items. The second one is translation of complex information. This skill has 3 items. The third one is about conflict management. This skill has 5 items. I would like to explain more detail about this cross-cultural competencies scale by using the next slide. The table of this slide is about cross-cultural competencies scale. That shows you question items on this table. There are 3 competencies as I explained. One of the examples about building relationships is developed trustful relationship with people. The second example is build friendship with people. In terms of translation of complex information, example is communicate with people using simple language even if the information is complex. Finally, conflict management. One of the examples is resolve conflict among the people. There are people on this table you can see. The term people in this questionnaire refers to those who have a different cultural background. This scale has 7-pointed Likert scale. The higher score is the greater skill level. I checked the scale of cross-cultural competencies regarding the validity and reliability. In terms of validity, the CFA showed that fit indices fell within a mostly acceptable range, as you can see here. In terms of reliability, all 3 Cronbach alphas were acceptable, 0.86, 0.86, 0.90. Then I will move to the result section. Before presenting regression results, I would like to show you the result of correlations. Number highlighted in red here means significant relationships between foreign language self-efficacy and overall cross-cultural competencies, as well as each three different cross-cultural competencies: building relationship, translation of complex information, conflict management. This slide's about regression results. I entered two control variables, gender and age. As you see, the foreign language self-efficacy variable strongly affected not only overall cross-cultural competencies, but also building relationships, translation of complex information, conflict management as a dependent variable. Number highlighted in red here indicated those significant relationships. This slide shows you the result summary. The variable of foreign language self-efficacy significantly related to cross-cultural competencies, overall competencies, building relationships, translation of complex information, and conflict management. Based on the results, I will discuss implications, future studies, and limitations. This first slide is about implication in terms of cross-cultural competencies. Findings of this study suggest international assignments or studying abroad require developing self-efficacy beliefs for foreign languages in order to develop cross-cultural competencies for effective and successful adaptation to cross-cultural settings. This is the first discussion. The second discussion is about future study in terms of foreign language self-efficacy. Foreign language self-efficacy is so important to develop cross-cultural competencies. Therefore, future studies should explore to focus on the following research questions. First one, what affects foreign language self-efficacy? The second one, how can foreign language self-efficacy be more developed in organizations systematically? Then I'd like to discuss two limitations on this study. The first limitation is about study participants. The participants are students in Japan. So for generalization of this study results, future study needs to examine those who are actually work in organization. Also, another research needs to be done in some other countries. This slide is about the second limitation. I'd like to talk about measures. The scale used in this study has only 3 competencies or skills. Accordingly, a future study needs to use other skills or competencies that are different from the 3 types of cross-cultural competencies in order to generalize the result of this study. Thank you very much.